All right. So, when was this set of instruction given?
After the death of the two sons of Aaron.
Which were whom?
Yeah, I know.
What's that?
I said, yeah, I know. Adab and Abihu.
Nadab and Abihu,
Nadab.
right?
Yeah.
Remember what chapter that was? That's right. That's right. Leviticus chapter 10. Very good. Leviticus chapter 10. It was Leviticus chapter 10 is one of those rare historical accounts that we can see in the book of Leviticus. But it said that now the Lord spoke to Moses after the death of the two sons of Aaron. And I think what this shows to us is that the laws that were given in the book of Leviticus are not necessarily in chronological order. Remember, this happened in chapter 10. We are now in chapter 16, and it's telling us that the Lord spoke to Moses after the death of the two sons of Aaron, which may indicate to us these instructions were given not that far removed from what happened to the two. And if anybody remembers, what had happened to Nadab and Abihu? They were struck dead. They were struck dead. They were consumed by fire. We talked about this in chapter 10. I don't know how it is that they were struck by fire. It doesn't appear that they were consumed by the fire, like turned into ash or anything like that, because we read about the family of Aaron taking out the bodies of Nadab and Abihu. So they were intact. Their clothes appeared to be somewhat intact. I don't know how it happened. I just rely on what the scriptures said, that they were killed by this fire. Why?
They approached the God in a way that was displeasing to God.
Yes, that's right. And what did they do?
They burned the wrong kind of fire.
Yes, they offered the strange fire, right? Depending on your translation. They offered the strange fire. Well, what was it that made the fire strange? Was it strange as in it was weird? No, it was strange in that it was unauthorized. We can see from this chapter here what is the authorized location that Nadab and Abihu were supposed to pull the fire in order to carry into the tabernacle for the other altar, which is inside, the one for the incense. That fire is supposed to come from the coals of the altar of burnt offerings from the outside. They were to carry it in. Why they did that? We talked about that in detail. We don't know. We just know that they acted in a way that was unauthorized. It was displeasing to God, and they were killed for it. God is deadly serious about his commandments. He is deadly serious about his people keeping his commandments. Again, the subject matter is holiness. And he shall be treated as holy. If we just go off willy-nilly, and there's no indication that Nadab and Abihu were even told where they were supposed to get the fire. It could be a situation that they were acting presumptuously. Oh, we're not told, so I guess that means that we can get the fire from anywhere, right? Maybe it was a situation that they acted presumptuously and didn't wait on instruction. Maybe they were given some instruction that we don't read about in the scriptures concerning that. Either way, they offered that strange fire, that unauthorized fire. So why? Go ahead, Mima.
That's a lesson to us today, to not approach God carelessly in prayer.
Okay. All right.
Remember, he's holy.
Yes, absolutely. Well, why do you think a reference to Nadab and Abihu is given here? And if you think that there's any significance, why are the sons of Aaron mentioned here?
A reminder. Don't forget.
Yeah. Some people set good examples for us. We could look at their lives and we can follow those examples. That of the Apostle Paul. Follow my example as I follow Christ, right? Living a life that's a good example in faithfulness and obedience. But then there are other people that set good examples for us. But they set good examples for us in the other way, right? Nadab and Abihu was one of two of those people that set an example for us in the other way. They set an example for us as to what happens if we are not careful in being obedient to what God says to do. If we are not careful in making sure that we are not running on ahead of God or acting presumptuously. Nadab and Abihu. I think that there's great significance why they are mentioned here. And that of course, that significance of course is as what was mentioned. This is a reminder for the people, so that they would not follow that example, so that they would pay close attention to what is being presented here concerning the Day of Atonement, because if they break the rules, they're in danger of dying. Again, God is deadly serious about his commandments. All right. So now, which of course is which brings us to a precaution about entering the most holy place. Can I get somebody to read verse 2 for me? Go ahead, Luke. You look like you were ready.
And Jehovah said unto Moses, Speak unto Aaron thy brother, that he come not at all times into the holy place within the veil, before the mercy seat which is upon the ark, that he die not, for I will appear in the cloud upon the mercy seat.
All right. Very good. King James?
American Standard.
This is American Standard? Okay. All right. So again, tell your brother Aaron he shall not enter at any time into the holy place inside the veil. Okay. Was Aaron allowed to go into the holy place behind the veil?
He went once a year.
What's that?
He went once a the high priest, whether it was Aaron or whomever, went once a year.
Yeah. That's right. So how do you square this? Tell your brother Aaron he shall not enter at any time into the holy place inside the veil before the mercy seat which is on the ark.
See, now my version,
It kind of, go ahead.
my version says at just any time.
Yes. And I think that's important to note, because in this same chapter, after God saying, tell Aaron he shall not enter at any time, and yet he's given instruction on what the high priest is to do once he enters into the most holy place, right? So I think that the translation that you're using points to the truth of the matter. That think of it this way: if you're to reword this commandment, he shall not enter at just any time of his choice.
That's what mine says, whenever he chooses.
Right, just whenever he chooses. In fact, he is to enter, but he is to enter on the day of God's choosing, which of course is going to be on that one day a year. And I think that's very interesting, that nobody is allowed to go into the most holy place except for one person, and that one person is only allowed to do it one time a year. That's the high priest. Go ahead, Katie.
Well, and taking this verse, that even if none of the translations said at just any time, you still have the command by God that says once a year.
That's right.
And that's no different than the laws, rules, regulations, whatever you want to term them, that we have in the New Testament. When you're talking to people about baptism, they'll want to take this verse and say, well, all it says is I have to believe. And then you take this verse that says, well, all I have to do is be baptized. Well, no, all I
you're exactly right. Which of course points to the importance of making sure that we're studying the Bible, not just reading a verse here, reading a verse there, studying it, putting everything into its context. Because I can see how somebody, if they were to just read this verse, that nobody was supposed to go into the most holy place. But of course, read on. Put everything into its context. It's going to give us a better understanding. So again, tell your brother Aaron, he shall not enter at any time into the holy place inside the veil before the mercy seat which is on the ark, or he will die. What is the mercy seat?
That's where God would appear to communicate with the high priest.
That's right. That's right. Physically, what is it?
The Ark's cover?
That's right. The lid. the lid to the Ark of the Covenant, right? Where you had the cherubim and the wings pointed. Yes. Yes. All right. Verses 3 through 5 is going to talk about the preparation of the high priest for the offerings that is given on the Day of Atonement. Can I get somebody to read verses 3 through 5 for me? Go ahead.
But in this way, Aaron shall come into the holy place with a bull from the herd for a sin offering and a ram for a burnt offering. He shall put on the holy linen coat, and it shall have the linen undergarment on his body. And he shall tie the linen sash around his waist, and wear the linen turban. These are the holy garments. He shall bathe his body in water, and then put them on. And he shall take from the congregation of the people of Israel 2 male goats for a sin offering, and 1 ram for a burnt offering.
Okay. So remember we read in Hebrews chapter 9 that on the Day of Atonement that the high priest brought a sacrifice for himself. It was a sin offering for himself. What did Aaron have to bring for his sacrifice? We got two different sacrifices talked about here. What's that?
For the sin offering, it was a bull.
Yes, a bull for the sin offering.
Well, the blood of the bull.
Yeah, and what else would he to bring?
The
The ram for the burnt offering. Remember the difference between the burnt offering and the sin offering, that the burnt offering was to be completely burned up, but the sin offerings that was brought by the people, there was only certain portions of that sin offering that was burned on the altar. The rest was given to the priest, except if the priest were to offer the sin offerings. What is to be done with that offering? It's to be completely burned up outside the camp. Outside the camp. That's right. So Aaron, I think it's important for us to note that Aaron had to bring a sacrifice, and we're going to see the order of things, how it is that the priest is addressed first, his actions, and then he goes and takes care of the other people. What do you think is the significance in that, concerning the order of things?
He would have to be cleansed before he cleanses someone else. It's like, trying to, what's that verse? The speck in your eye.
Yeah, Matthew 7, right?
Yeah, that kind of, so yeah, it would make sense. Can't have somebody up there. That'd be like me getting somebody off the street to come behind the pulpit and preach to us.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yes.
That makes sense.
He had to take care of himself first.
Correct. Exactly.
Before he was clean or cleansed, in order to take care of the people. Take care of his sin issues first, then take care of the people. And I'm glad you brought up Matthew 7. It's a good point.
Yeah.
It's a good point. All right, so Aaron had to bring his own sacrifice, because he had to offer a sacrifice for himself. Hebrews chapter 9. What was Aaron to don?
The holy garments. The tunic.
They were were indeed holy. Okay? But remember, we had talked about this when we were in the book of Exodus concerning the garments of the high priest. Remember, you had the robe and the ephod with the stones, and it had the pocket on the inside that carried the ummim and the thummim. You had the turban with the gold band that said what? Holy to the Lord. Yeah, and we compared that uniform of the high priest to the regular priesthood. And that of the high priest, he was set apart in his activities and his garment. It was a very ornate garment, right? But what do we see here? You don't see any of that, right?
No.
What do we see here? We see
Mine says a linen tunic.
just a holy linen
And
tunic,
then the linen undergarments
Yes.
were next to his body.
girded with a linen sash
Yes.
and attired with a linen turban. All right,
Correct.
completely clothed in this linen. You know, we don't read about all of the ornate things that we read about concerning the uniform of the high priest. But on this day, on the Day of Atonement, we can see here that the priest is to wear different clothes, the high priest. Different than what he normally wears. Why do you think that the regular uniform is not prescribed here during the high priest activities on the Day of Atonement?
God is special.
That's right. That's right. He is special. He is holy. Why not all the whole garment?
Is it because this is a sin sacrifice just for him?
Yeah, I think it's related to that. I mean, we're not told why. This is just a thought question. You know, go ahead, Janice.
Just a thought question. I was thinking about when the people of Israel sinned and God told them to take off their ornaments because I need to figure out what I need to do with you. And here we are now where they don't have on all God requests, not that they have on their ornaments, because they need to humble themselves because this is the Day of Atonement.
Yes. And that's exactly where I was going. This is as I mentioned, this is not a day of celebration, not a day of festivities. You don't have the fellowship offering like you could find in other of the feast days. However, this day is a day of humility, is a day of self-reflection. And also remember, you had the high priest that wore the ephod, and the ephod had the 12 stones. Remember the ephod and the breastplate, and on the breastplate you had the 12 stones, and on his shoulders he had the onyx stones, which was carved the 12 tribes of Israel. And what did that signify? That the priest was carrying the people with him before God. But here's the situation. This situation is different. The priest here is taking care of himself, right? He's addressing his own sin. He's addressing his own issues. Before he carries the names of the people before God, he needs to be taking care of himself. And of course, this may be the reason why you don't see these ornamental this ornamental uniform being worn by the priest. Instead, very unassuming linen garments. All right, so it says in verse 4 that he shall bathe his body in water and put them on. In verse 5, he shall take from the congregation of the sons of Israel. All right, so what did the people bring? Now this is about preparation. What did the people bring?
2 male goats for a sin offering and a ram for a burnt offering.
That's right. That's right. So with the high priest is to bring a bull for the sin offering, but the sons of Israel, the nation as a whole, are to bring 2 male goats for a sin offering. And in this chapter, it's going to talk about what is done. Why 2? In a moment, we're going to talk about the scapegoat. The scapegoat, yes. So now in verses 6 through 10 is going to talk about the presentation of the offerings, which is going to bring us into this next section concerning the goats. Could I get somebody to read verses 6 through 10 for me, please?
I'll read it.
Go ahead.
Aaron shall offer the bull as a sin offering, which is for himself, and make atonement for himself and for his house. He shall take the 2 goats and present them before the Lord at the door of the tabernacle of meeting. Then Aaron shall cast lots for the 2 goats, one for the Lord and the other lot for the scapegoat. And Aaron shall bring the goat on which the Lord's lot fell and offer it as a sin offering. But the goat on which the lot fell to be the scapegoat shall be presented alive before the Lord to make atonement upon it, and to let it go as the scapegoat into the wilderness.
Okay. What are the 5 steps of the offering presentation? Let's take a look. First we see that the high priest was to offer the bull for the bull of sin offering for whom?
Himself.
For himself, right?
And
And then the 2 goats for the people's sin offering, they are to be presented before the Lord at the tabernacle. And then the next step, what does the priest do?
Cast lots.
Yes, he was to cast lots to determine which of these goats would be for the Lord and which would be the scapegoat. And then the next step, the goat that was belonging to the Lord, what happens to it?
Sacrifice.
It's to be sacrificed as a sin offering. And then it says of the other goat, it is to be presented alive before the Lord. All right? And of course, to complete this sin atonement process, it is to be sent into the wilderness as a scapegoat. Okay? What is a scapegoat? In our modern vernacular, if we call somebody a scapegoat, what does that mean? What does that even mean?
You're putting all the blame on them so that you don't have to take it.
Yes. It takes the sins of one person or the wrongful activities of one person and pin it on an innocent party, right? That's the scapegoat. And of course, the idea of that comes from these regulations concerning the scapegoat.
But I understand what the scapegoat is.
Uh-huh.
But the goat that was killed, it seemed like that would be the fall guy. The goat that was killed, and the other one was let free to roam. But I understand.
I'm talking about in terms of pinning wrongdoing onto somebody. And we're going to see from this chapter here that it's going to talk more. We're going to talk more about the scapegoat, right? Because we're going to see that the high priest, is going to lay his hands on the head of this scapegoat, and this is supposed to represent the transfer of the sins of the people onto the scapegoat, or onto this goat, and this goat is to carry the sins of the people away from their number, right?
So the goat that was killed for
He-
sin.
He is the sin offering.
Okay.
Yeah.
You had somebody.
I mean, just like Christ. You know, Christ he is our sin offering.
But he's
Does
the
it-
scapegoat also, right?
What's that?
He's the
Okay,
scapegoat
we're going to talk more about that. You know how it is that Christ is representative of our sin offering and the scapegoat, or whether or not it's even appropriate to apply this idea of the scapegoat to Christ. Of course, it's easy to understand that Jesus he is our sin offering, but not that he became sinful for us, but he became our sin offering for us. He bore our sins. He bore the consequence of our sins. Not that he became sinful. I mean, there's a lot of people that that talk about. We wouldn't have time to talk about that now. We're out of time. But Lord willing, next week we're going to pick up. We're going to pick up at verse 11. And verse 11 is going to talk about the atonement for the high priest and his household. Why? And we touched on this. Why is it that the high priest had to make his offering first?
So that he is without sin before he can offer for the people.
That's right. That's right.
But in 11 it says, I'm confused because in 11 it says, then Aaron shall offer the bull of the sin offering, which is for himself. So it seems like, and I know that sometimes it's not in order, it seems like
yeah.
he did this for the goats first and then he did the bull. That's what it